it's been about a week since you guys have last seen me, and I think it's about time I give you guys the top 5 updated best class setups for Warzone 2. Now these things are going to help you guys whether you guys are beginners or pros, because these are the most optimal setups to use. So the first thing I actually want to show you guys is the best SMG, which is the ISO 45. I also want to show you an amazing close range weapon, which is the MX Guardian, considering how amazing it is, the recent buffs that shotguns received, and just overall how this game is playing now. These two are very optimal for close range, but I did want to start out with SMGs just because I feel like that's just the overall best choice. So for the ISO 45, we put on the X10 RR40 for the sound suppression, bullet velocity, damage range, and recoil smoothness at the cost of aim down sight speed and aiming stability. Now, I did receive a comment at one point talking about how tuning isn't efficient for everybody, so if you guys don't want to follow my tuning, you guys do not have to. This is just my preference and what I decide to use. So for the tuning, I put the bullet velocity at 0.68 inches and the recoil smoothness to 1.22 ounces. Next, I put on the 0.45 auto pressured for no enemy skulls and target flinch. The tuning is bullet velocity set to 6.68 GR and the damage range is set to 0.45 G. Now VLK laser 7 MW for aim down sight speed, aiming stability, and sprint to fire speed at the cost of the laser being visible in ADS. Not a big deal to me. You just have to make sure that you're not just ADSing every single corner or they're going to know where you're coming from. Aim down sight speed is set to negative 31.26. Just get as close as possible because it's really hard to be precise with that. And the sprint to fire speed is set to negative 0.24 ounces. Now I put on the SK3 Cheetah for sprint speed, crouch movement speed, aim walking speed, and aim down sight speed at the cost of aiming stability and recoil control. And I set the tuning for aim walking speed to negative 0.31 inches and aim down sight speed to negative 1.16 ounces. This final outcome is absolutely amazing, and in my opinion, it's absolutely one of the best weapons I actually use in Warzone or multiplayer. So I highly suggest giving this a chance. I just think that it gets the job done very well. And before anyone actually comments saying, "Oh, that wasn't 3 plates," we're going to show you how good it is with 3 plates. Still gets the job done very quickly. Long range, you have to be a little more careful and a little more accurate, but it's melting faster than literally every other SMG. So the next thing I do want to show you guys is the MX Guardian. Now there's 2 versions I would happily love to show you. This is the first one right here. This is what I consider meta, but if you guys don't like this version, I have a better version for the people that can't handle semi-auto trigger. So I put on the HYP LM barrel, and this is for damage range, bullet velocity, recoil control, and hip fire accuracy at the cost of aim down sight speed, hip recoil control, and movement speed. Set the tuning for damage range of 0.21 inches and the recoil steadiness to 0.31 pounds. Next, we put on the Lock Grip Precision 40 for hip fire accuracy, recoil steadiness, and aim walking steadiness at the cost of aim down sight speed. The tuning is set to negative 0.08 inches and the weight is not changed at all. I put on the 12 gauge explosive for explosive slug rounds, damage range, and vehicle damage at the cost of damage radius and bullet velocity. If you're more a slug person, then feel free to use that, but I think this does more damage. Now here's one thing, I did not tune this, and the reason I didn't tune this is because it doesn't make a difference. So to be honest, if you want more hip walking speed, you can actually do that and actually max it out if you wanted to. I don't really recommend it, maybe around negative 0.36 G, but you actually won't get a reduction of damage range or bullet velocity just because this is just a set point. So you can really get nothing but benefit. And if you want to increase your recoil steadiness, you can do that too. As you guys see, the bullet velocity nor damage range, they don't go down, they're stuck there. So that's a good point you can keep it at. VLK laser 7 MW. For this, I would recommend if you wanted to increase the sprint to fire speed, but that's really kind of it. You don't have to increase aim down sight speed, but if you want to, you can as well. That's kind of just optional. But like I said, the last thing is the semi-auto trigger. This actually gives it more damage than it would in fully auto, and it's just a significant difference. So just to show you guys in the firing range right now, this thing, absolutely nuts, and that's with the plates on there. So if you guys didn't have the semi-auto on there, it would still get the damage. Well, it would still get the job done in my opinion, but it probably wouldn't be as efficient. So I can show you guys right now. Say we threw on, I don't know, maybe the XRK Rush, right? So you get more better sprint to fire speed and more aim down sight speed, right? So now, I mean, you'll still get the job done, but it'll probably take about 1 more bullet. So it's completely your choice, whichever one you want to use. I think they're both great. I just think that with the semi-auto, you'll get more damage and more bang for your buck. So whichever one you want to use, completely up to you. Try it out for yourself and use whatever your preference is. But now we're going to move on to more long-range weapons. The Lockman 5.56 is officially this season's favorite weapon, aside from the Cronin Squad. If you can handle the recoil, some people cannot handle the recoil, so this is why I say this is optimal. Put on the Harbinger D20 for sound suppression, bullet velocity, damage range, and recoil smoothness at the cost of aim down sight speed, aiming stability, and aim walking speed. Now, I tuned the bullet velocity of 0.55 inches and the recoil smoothness to 1.08 ounces. Then I put on the 15.9 Lockman rat barrel for recoil control, bullet velocity, damage range, and hip fire accuracy at the cost of aim down sight speed, movement speed, and hip recoil control. I set the tuning to 0.01 inches for damage range and the recoil steadiness to 0.37 pounds. Now, you don't have to really change the length if you don't want to. It's very minuscule, the difference. But I put on the 5.56 high velocity for bullet velocity at the cost of damage range, and I set the bullet velocity 8.42 GR and the damage range to 0.59 G. Put on the 60 round mag just because I feel like you want to have as many bullets as possible for this weapon, especially considering the high fire rate. And then I put on the aim op V4. I mean, it's completely personal preference, whatever optic you want to use, but for the tuning, I maxed out the far distance. And now for the final result. This thing is so beautiful and very easy to use. The only downside is, like I said before, it does take quite a few bullets. So you're really getting the benefit of a very low recoil gun. If you want a very low recoil gun, this is the gun for you. It's just going to take a couple bullets to get the job done, but if you're okay with that, then fantastic. One more thing that I would suggest if you're more willing to actually control the recoil is the Cronin Squad, just because the Cronin Squad is absolutely nuts. No matter what they try to do, this thing is still absolutely meta. So I put on the Sack and Tread 40 for vertical and horizontal recoil control at the cost of aim down sight speed and aiming stability. I set the recoil control to 0.28 inches and the recoil stabilization to 0.59 ounces. Then I put on the HR 6.8 barrel for damage range, bullet velocity, recoil control, and hip fire accuracy at the cost of aim down sight speed, hip recoil control, and movement speed. The tuning is for the damage range 0.37 inches and the recoil steadiness is set to 0.39 pounds. Put on the 6.8 high velocity for bullet velocity at the cost of damage range, which already has basically a maxed out version of damage range, but we're going to increase it even more. Set the bullet velocity 8.71 GR and the damage range of 0.50 G. 50 round drum just because you want as many bullets as possible, and then the aim op V4 once again with the same settings. So the final result for this is absolutely amazing. As you guys see, it doesn't take as many bullets to kill as the Lockman 5.56 does, but at long range it is a little bit more difficult as you are trying to control the recoil a little bit better. Now, if you have a Cronin Zen or whatever, then you can actually get the job done way easier, but that's going to get you banned, so I don't recommend using that. Just try to be as accurate as possible, close and medium long range. The last thing, which I still love using, is the sleeper, which is the MP5. The MP5 is amazing. Put on the XN R40 for sound suppression, bullet velocity, damage range, and recoil smoothness at the cost of aim down sight speed and aiming stability. And then put the bullet velocity at 0.32 inches and the recoil smoothness to 0.90 ounces. Put on the Merc foregrip for hip fire accuracy, recoil steadiness, hip recoil control, and aim walking steadiness at the cost of hip walking speed, aim down sight speed. For the tunings, set the aim down sight speed to negative 0.28 inches and the hip walking speed to negative 0.54 ounces. VLK Laser 7 MW for aim down sight speed, aiming stability, and sprint to fire speed at the cost of the laser being visible in ADS. Set the tuning for aim down sight speed to negative 19.74 feet and sprint to fire speed to negative 0.23 ounces. 9mm overpressure for target flinch. Set the bullet velocity at 4.94 GR and the damage range of 0.45 G. 40 round mag, just because I don't think you need the 50. And here's the final outcome. This thing is absolutely beautiful, and in my opinion, it's a very good contender against the ISO 45, especially if you don't have the ISO 45 leveled up or unlocked. So if you don't have that, feel free to use this and you'll still do a great job. As you guys see, it takes a little bit more bullets than the ISO 45, but in my opinion, it's still worth it to have on there. So let me know what you guys, let me know how you guys feel about these class setups. If they help you out, I would greatly appreciate it. If you guys let me know in the comment section down below, and you guys have a great day. Look forward to the next video.